evening. You're watching us live from the Gambia Radio and Television Services, and this is the news coming to you straight from Banjul. Also coming up, President Barrow receives in audience the delegations of Manjako and Nar communities at the State House in Banjul. The board and management of GRTS has today reappeared before the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly to deliberate on the state broadcaster's 2019 audited activity and financial reports. The 20th session of the Truth Commission has begun with former National Intelligence Board giving his testimony on alleged excesses of the state under the previous administration. And in sports, the Gambia has been handed a tough draw in next month's CAF Under-20 football tournament, with the Young Scorpions drawn in Group C alongside Ghana, Tanzania and Morocco. And in the internationals, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he wants to reset relations with the U.S. despite Biden's nominee for Secretary of State expressing his ill will against Maduro's government. Well, these and many other stories coming ahead in the next 45 minutes. Thank you for joining us. GRTS News with me, Fatou Janimbai, and we begin this edition of the bulletin with the presidency, where His Excellency President Adama Barrow yesterday received delegations of Manjako and Nar communities at the State House. The delegations were at the seat of the presidency to affirm their support and loyalty to the Gambian leader and his government. Mamadou Jallo picks up the rest of that story.
First delegation to call on the president, the Manjago community, led by prominent individuals from diverse backgrounds. The meeting accorded both sides the opportunity to exchange views on the socio-political situation in the country and explore avenues of strengthening President Barrow's political base. Andrew T. Mendy spoke of the significance of this meeting, which he believes is the first such outreach by the Manjago community to the corridors of power. He disclosed that his community is following with keen interest developments across the country, and as such, they have resolved to complement these efforts. David Bass, who spoke on behalf of the youth, appealed directly to the president to empower the Manjago youth by providing skill centers to enable them to acquire life skills, whilst Madeline Mendy spoke of the need for fenced vegetable gardens for women of their community. She observed that Manjago women are engaged in many activities, but called on the president to appoint them in key decision-making positions in order to give women a voice. David Gomez, who serves as the Alcalde of Fala, hailed President Barrow as the first leader to politically empower Manjagos by appointing 2 of their community as ministers. He expressed concern with attempts to encroach on Manjago lands, urging the government to take concrete actions to resolve such land disputes. The presidential advisor on youth matters, Henry Gomez, who described himself as a proud member of the Manjago community, called for unity amongst this diverse community to attain their desired objectives. He said the Gambia has politically evolved, and as such, Manjago should empower President Barrow to give him another 5-year mandate to continue his program of development. The Minister of Fisheries and Natural Resources observed that this meeting has added significance because for the first time in the Gambia's history, Manjagos have stood to be counted rather than continue to be spectators in the political process. He attributed this to the new political climate created by President Barrow, which allows for popular participation of all citizens, irrespective of their ethnic or religious backgrounds. The Fisheries Minister urged his community to stand up for their rights as citizens and pursue legal processes to safeguard their lands against encroachment. He finally urged them to massively register for the upcoming elections and vote massively for President Barrow. The Minister of Regional Government and Lands, Musa Drame, reassured that government will look into the land issues across the country, noting that the problem was inherited from the previous government. He disclosed that government has appointed a lands commission to look into these issues and appeal for patience and cooperation. The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, said he was delighted to receive such a distinguished delegation of highly respectable individuals with proven track records in their fields of work. He reassured the Manjago community that his government accommodates all Gambians irrespective of their ethnic or religious orientations, and therefore urged them to complement his government's development efforts. On the question of land disputes, President Barrow urged caution as the problem was inherited from his predecessor. He however said that his government has taken steps to address the situation, adding that he has no personal interest in the land debacle and would not take sides in order to allow the law to take its course. The president finally urged the Manjago community to stand up for their rights as Gambians and express his willingness to work with them to advance national development. The meeting ended on a high note with the president seeing off the delegation. Next came another delegation of the NAR community, descendants of Mauritanians who worked and settled in the Gambia. They also came to show their support to the president and seek his intervention in resolving issues affecting their lives. Most important of these, according to Binta Job, is the discrimination against the NAR community when it comes to acquiring national documents. This situation, according to Fatou Jara, has made life difficult for the community as they cannot get employment or showcase their language and culture in the media. Bilal Fall, a councillor in the Kanofi Municipal Council, decried the stereotypes associated with members of his community and appealed to government to help them undertake a census to determine their numbers. In response, President Barrow expressed immense gratitude to the NAR community for the outreach and promised that his government will review the laws dealing with citizenship to eliminate discrimination against minorities. The president, however, challenged the community to use lawful means to assert their rights as citizens, saying that the Gambia belongs to all citizens, irrespective of their ethnicity. Mamadou Diallo, GRTS News.
The board and management of the Gambia Radio and Television Services has today reappeared before the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly for deliberations on its 2019 audited activity and financial report. For more on the engagement that began last Friday is GRTS's Famara Baji.
Having received the presentation of the activity report and financial statement of the Gambia Radio and Television Services Corporation for the year ended 31st December 2019, that this committee considers the activity report and financial statement for ultimate adoption with recommendation. Those in favor say aye. Those not in favor say no. Well, the consideration starts.
The board and management of GRTS returned to the Public Enterprises Committee to continue the presentation of the broadcaster's activity and financial report. Officials started by outlining challenges confronting the institution, with the management of GRTS underlining the needs for government to subsidize the state institution for greater success to be registered.
Government has to play a fundamental role in investing in equipment. When the digital transition started, most of the African countries and beyond have committed themselves either through guaranteeing loans, soft loans, through getting under their budget more income to equip their public service broadcasters because they know that they're going to open up the competition. Here in this country, we have not done that. And a few years ago, we were disconnected. Our satellite was disconnected because of lack of payment.
Without repositioning GRTS, for us to be a public broadcaster, that will be viable and giving all the resources to be able to compete. We have been going to Senegal all the time. You go to RTS, the situation is different. It's a public broadcaster. Government is giving them all the support to be able to train their people, to be able to get state-of-the-art equipment and operate. But that is not the situation in Gambia. GRTS, we are using equipment that were here since 2005, that were installed during the AU Summit. Those are the equipment we are grappling with. Some are
on the payment of corporate tax, but the GRTS board chair said an agreement has been reached with GRA on that issue.
There is a possibility for the Minister of Finance to also waive certain taxations or reduce them. And I think the agreement was in line with the difficulties GRTS found itself in. And since also GRA was collecting the levy, it was agreed that they will collect the tax from the source instead of giving GRTS all and then later on. So there is an agreement to collect the tax through that modality.
Finance Director Yamunda Ugai offered explanation on some issues raised on the broadcaster's financial statement.
We were not paying the electricity bill all along. We had an agreement with NAWEC in which we were paying them 500,000. But early January 2019, we were on prepaid meter. And we were buying cash for more than 1.5 million every month. So it was very difficult for us to sustain it. Because if you look at the GSM levy, $9 million is out of which $5 million is going to our staff costs, $1 million is going to fuel. So we were virtually struggling to pay off for the electricity bill. And this warranted us to be going on overdraft virtually every month.
After successfully responding to questions posted by the Public Enterprise Committee, the chairman of the Public Enterprise Committee, Halifa Saleh, consequently moved a motion for the consideration to be adjourned, and deputies granted the application. The board and management of GRTS will reappear on Wednesday for the continuation of legislative consideration of the broadcaster's activity report for the year ended 2019. Famara Baji, GRTS News.
Now elsewhere, the Deputy Mayor of the Kanifing Municipality has today presided over the inauguration of Latikunda Yiringanya Market. The facility received a new facelift courtesy of the Kanifing Municipal Council. Ominjai witnessed the opening of a much-yearned development seeking to economically empower its users, particularly women, and this is her report.
The opening of the Latikunda Yiringanya market forms part of development projects lined up by the KMC to transform Kanifing municipality. For residents of Latikunda seeking to economically boost their earning capacity in the municipality's markets, especially women, this is a major breakthrough and light at the end of the tunnel. Starring Modu Cham spoke on behalf of the beneficiaries, expressing appreciation to the Kanifing Municipal Council for not only giving the market a new facelift, but advancing schemes to empower women economically. He urged his colleagues to take ownership of the market facility and maintain market hygiene. Youth Representative Chebu Jeng thanked the council for the new initiative, but solicited intervention in the ward to bring in more developments, especially in skill acquisition. Adam Sonko, headmistress at the Latikunda Primary School, used the opportunity to call on parents to help revive the school. CEO of the KMC noted that the market inauguration is a fulfilled promise under the KM Market Rehabilitation Project. She called for concerted efforts to bring in more developments within the municipality. CEO Sonko further called on both market users and residents of Latikunda to properly maintain the market facility and promise more developments to the ward. Officially opening the new market facility, Deputy Lord Mayor of KMC, Musaba, called on residents of Latikunda to unite for the development of the ward. The new market is set to see more development initiatives by the council. The Kanifing municipality is looking at more advances under a council moving to revitalize and introduce much-needed developments for sustainability. Ominjai, GRTS.
Now, still ahead for you, the 20th session of hearings at the Truth Commission has today continued with former Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Harry Sambu, giving his testimony on alleged excesses of the previous administration. As Sinabujang reports, witness Babukar Cham opened the proceedings with his alleged involvement in drug trafficking, which subsequently led to his arrest, detention, and torture by former agents of the state. More in this report.
Businessman Babukar Cham testified before the TRRC on Monday as he recalled his encounter with the NIA. As a respected elder in his community of Birkama, witness Cham told lead counsel Fal that drug-related issues was not accepted in the area, and when he found out that drugs were sold in his area, he went to the Drug Law Enforcement Agency to report the matter to them. This particular drug incident happened in 2009, as the witness recalled. However, after reporting the matter to his surprise, about 8 NIA men, including the NIA's current Director General, picked him up from his home. On torture matters, witness Cham said he didn't receive any beatings, but after spending 28 days in the cells, his fellow inmates recalled their painful experience, which included lacerations to their private parts. Adversely mentioned throughout the TRRC and served with a notice of adverse mentioned persons was Harry Paul Sambu, former Deputy Director General of the NIA. Witness Sambu told the Commission that the behavior and tendencies of the former President Yahya Jammeh could be seen as schizophrenic, temperamental, and had pathological problems which affected his decision. He said Yahya Jammeh was a king and no one had the audacity to challenge him, but he wasn't terrified of former president. The witness also recalled the torture of the dissident fighters who attacked the Farafenya barracks. Zainabu Jang for GRTS News.
The National Water and Electricity Company Limited, NAWEC, has today presented sanitary materials worth $7 million to the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and the Association of Madrasas and Arabic Education Centers. The donation, as Khadija Tujalo reports, is meant to improve hygienic conditions at schools as part of efforts to fight COVID-19. More in this report.
At the presentation ceremony, the Managing Director of the National Water and Electricity Company Limited, Nani Juara, highlighted NAWEC's role in providing clean drinking water for the populace, in which there is a component of sanitation and hygiene.
These are materials that are procured under the World Bank support, COVID response support to NAWEC. This is part of the sanitary component of the project, which is going to provide water facilities for NAWEC, which includes drilling of some additional boreholes and also extension of some of our, or upgrading and rehabilitating some of our water facilities. However, this component that we are implementing right now is targeted to support the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and Amana.
These materials include buckets, face masks, detergents, and hand sanitizers. The NAWEC boss urged school officials to ensure that children abide by the WHO COVID-19 regulations, which these materials seeks to complement.
The total expenditure for these materials is almost about 7,305,000 Gambian dollars. This is part of our corporate social responsibility, and that is to support the ministry, because we know these schools, we have our own kids there, and to be honest, COVID is real, and health delivery is everybody's business. So NAWEC is not going to be an exception to this, and we are also going to contribute our quota to the efforts that the ministry and the government is making to protect us.
NAWEC's Director of Water Services, Alaji Diba, reiterated the company's stance in fighting the spread of the deadly virus since discovered in the Gambia in March 2020.
To make sure that the hygiene component, NAWEC responds positively to that. That investment not only to this, but we are spending huge amount of money just to make sure our customers' hygiene is well taken care of. You will see blue tanks in town with bouncers filling them. All geared towards to make sure the hygiene of our customers.
Receiving the gesture, Omar Jammeh, representing Amana, and the Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary School were appreciative of the gesture by the utility giant.
If you take the average household in this country of 7 people per household, you have a class of 25 kids. 25 children are coming from different families. 25 you multiply by 7. How many can be infected in a day? Within a week, the entire country can be all infected. Therefore, if you are supporting the curtail of the spread by entering through the schools, you are doing the right approach to ensure that COVID is contained.
The sanitary materials earmarked for basic and secondary education, be it Arabic or English schools, is envisaged to help children hygiene and health. Khadija Tujalo, reporting for GRTS News.
And now over to one of our lead stories. The use of tobacco by women for fulfilling sexual pleasures has become a phenomenon practiced by many women in the Senegambia region. However, health experts have warned against the practice that rebranded many marriage settings from any angle one considers the practice. As Janketura reports, the use of tobacco is on the increase. Be advised that some of the technical terms used in this report are biological, and viewer discretion is therefore advised.
Vaginal tobacco, locally known as taba or simancola, is a substance that stimulates sexual satisfaction for women. According to those who adopt the new method, described taba as a blessing in disguise, thus increasing their sexual libido during intercourse with their male partners, and as well as shrink genitals and address infertility. Sexual desire and satisfaction is becoming a great concern among partners. Many are now investing into desperate measures to fulfill their desires. The product is made from dried tobacco leaves and the roots of a tree called tangora. Some manufacturers add soda and shea butter. After purchasing the substance from the market, it is inserted in the genitals. Many of the women who have used the product say the effects include burning sensation, severe dizziness, vomiting, and even loss of consciousness. And to some users, it is practically impossible to stay away from it.
The
first day that I used tobacco, I felt dizzy, wanted to vomit. Due to that, I fought. Once you are used to it, you cannot leave it. The practice is now popular in West Africa, where tobacco is often referred. Doctors have warned against the practice, which potentially lead to complications, including urinary tract infections, yeast infections, or bacterial vaginosis.
I think that's a misconception. That's the belief that it helped them to satisfy their sexual desire. Some will say also it helped them in infertility. Some will also say it helped them to ease their labor. But these are all misconceptions. Because these are to help them in labor. In fact, it precipitated the labor because of the chemical it contained.
Since there is no scientific evidence to prove the effectiveness of the tobacco product, Mothers Health Foundation, a civil society organization, is intensifying their efforts to discourage women from the harmful practice. GRTS is the founder of Mothers Health Foundation. She described the practice as suicidal.
100% of our victims said it's suicidal. We have victims who testify that they had premature birth. You resort in using tobacco. We have pictures, we have the evidences of what tobacco is causing. The laws need to be revisited. National Assembly needs to come up and look at the laws in place.
Contrary to claims that tobacco cures infertility, specialists in herbal medicine say tobacco is never a cure to infertility. We spoke to some women about the practice, while some men, whose life too is at risk, advise against the use of tobacco.
It's important we listen to healthcare workers, experts, to make sure that we battle things that are affecting our lives, that we think they are enjoyable to our life, but they are not. They are definitely putting our life backward.
Tobacco is described as a gynecological troublemaker that kills the vagina microbiota. It is strange that with the negative effects of tobacco among users, dealers and the source of the product is kept a secret. Authorities are campaigning against this harmful practice, but are there legislations to address such emerging health risks? For the news, I am Janke Ture.
And now elsewhere, the Christian community in the Gambia has welcomed Apostle Johnson Suleiman, who arrived in the Gambia for the second time yesterday evening. The spiritual and renowned pastor was received with a rousing welcome at the Banjul International Airport ahead of his scheduled prayer sessions to heal the sick and bless the faithful. GRTS's Aminata Sanyang has more in this report.
All your dream is a miracle. All your dream is fruit of the womb. Sir, there is something more than that.
He has conducted different sermons in different countries. Apostle Johnson Suleiman is a Nigerian-based preacher who influenced many Christians into reverence. He is said to have the power to cure many ailments and other spiritual misfortunes. The permanent apostle arrives in the Gambia for his second visit with plans to hold a series of prayer convergences in the country.
We are here believing God for progress for Gambia. No matter the policies of the government, no matter the plans of the government, there is a spiritual dimension to success and advancement and progress. It is the duty of the government to plan physically, and it's the duty of ministers of God to pray and spiritually believe God that all the plans and the aspirations of the government will come to pass. So generally, we're in the Gambia believing God that God will rain down blessings upon the people.
His first visit in the Gambia ushered in a massive number of Christians at different worship grounds. He revealed to GRTS that part of his activities he will be conducting in the Gambia will include curing ailments.
We're going to be having a crusade. The venue is already being scrolled out. So we're believing God that the sick will be healed, the bound will be free. Those who are believing God for miracles and problems in their lives will be rolled away. That's why we're here.
He received a massive welcome at the Banjul International Airport from Christians. Apostle Johnson Suleiman is expected to conduct different sermons in the country before his return to Nigeria. Aminata Sanyang, GRTS.
And now, African Arrest Trust via Kiev Dalton has over the weekend donated an ambulance to Willingara Health Center. As Ramataba reports, the initiative is meant to strengthen community health care services and improve the lives of the people.
The Willingara Health Clinic is a special project that has been driven by community need, and the passion of those involved has provided valuable outcomes over the years. According to community actors and beneficiaries, the clinic has made significant difference in the lives of people seeking for treatment within Willingara and beyond.
CIS is a community-based organization with the objective of providing quality and relevant early childhood education with access to good health service facility. CIS also provides children's sponsorship package for needy children. That is to say, CIS not only intervene in education, but has also provided sponsorship package for over 140 children at the time. A pregnant woman due for delivery died on her way to hospital. If there was a clinic within, then that death could have been avoided.
Mr. Dembo Njai said the donated ambulance will improve on referral services, which until now has been a major challenge.
Major constraints faced by the clinic. As we continue to face the challenges like any old institution, we wish to call on interested individuals or organizations to support replacing the entire roofing of the facility as we continue to face the leakages during the heavy downpour of rains. This roof currently has served more than 14 years.
The African Oyster Trust is a global community-based organization that provides quality and relevant early childhood education with access to primary health care services. The organization and partners also provide sponsorship packages to needy children. Aminata Isang, GRTS. The
report was actually done by Aminata Sanyang instead of Ramataba, as earlier explained. And now to some sad news. A fire outbreak in Yona village has ravaged the entire house of one Bayakunda family in Sami district in the Central River region. As Modilamin Sane reports, the inferno left nothing with its victims, who are now on their knees for support. More in this report.
Was not what these residents of Yona village in Sami district expected. The mid-afternoon inferno, which ravaged the entire Bayakunda household, started after 2 p.m. and as usual, the cause of the fire has not been established according to eyewitnesses. And despite the lack of casualties, the fire did not leave anything in the 5-bedroom building, whose roof was totally destroyed alongside beds, family clothing and other valuables.
Everything
in these 2 suitcases got burned and nothing came out from the houses. My mom's groundnut bags were all consumed by the fire, plus even the money I kept for the community. Even farm proceeds like this grain store for groundnut holding 11 bags including maize and rice was consumed by the fire. Villagers tried their best to put out the fire, which reportedly lasted for over 2 hours, burning down every fabric of this massive family house.
It wasn't the help of the villagers, things could have been worse, and the fire can even transfer to other compounds. But thanks to the people of the flag.
Coming sembola doya dron pour kanu dumbon kono bari kabri dimba bota atara bun kono fa siso bun kono fa mo bukadu no
nim bansankol diamre ko la moto bukateno feriola son ko wota salim fani wakil.
We called the fire service for help, but they told us their vehicle cannot cross the Bansang crossing point to this side, that when we tried by ourselves to put out the fire.
The family lost all their local savings, including money entrusted to them by the community.
The
victim is a very trusted person in the community and the imam of the village. People here entrusted him money and other valuables. We cannot even tell how much is destroyed by the fire. Residents of Yona village and its surroundings came out in large numbers to sympathize with the affected family, which is now left with nothing to go by after this surprising inferno destroyed everything they own. Modulamin Sane reporting for GRTS News from the Central River region. An outbreak of...
Let's now shift our attention to the Lower River Region settlement of Ginoi, where a 4-day annual retreat organized by the Ministry of Agriculture is underway. The forum brought together satellite institutions under the ministry to review the 2020 activities and discuss implementation plans for the year 2021. Alajimbai picks up the rest of that story.
In fulfillment of its mandate to improve household income, reduce poverty and increase food and nutrition security, the Ministry of Agriculture organized a 4-day retreat in order to bring together various sectors under the purview of the ministry. Agriculture is the leading sector in the country's economy and provides employment for over 70% of rural dwellers, hence the need for such planning and review meetings to ensure the sector contributes effectively to food security and economic growth. The forum, according to the Minister of Agriculture, Ami Fabure, is crucial and timely as the impacts of climate change and COVID-19 increase vulnerability of farmers and threatening food and nutrition security.
The Minister of Agriculture and Partners Rapid Assessment Report of the year 2019-2020 indicated that 733,000 people would be vulnerable to food insecurity during the lean season due to poor cropping season, which coincided with COVID-19 in early 2020. This has affected most of our small-scale farmers to be more vulnerable during the lean period.
Minister Fabre reaffirmed government's commitment to improving agriculture as contained in the National Development Plan through the provision of inputs and implements. She, however, called on farmers and technicians to focus on climate-smart agriculture.
The COVID-19 strategy implemented 2020 has gone a long way in building the resilience and improving food and nutrition security of the smallholder farmers. This was possible with the able leadership of His Excellency President Adama Barrow, through the government and its partners, IFAD, FAO, WFP, Japanese government, and Chinese, in the support of different assorted seeds, fertilizer, plowing services, and the farm machinery. However, COVID-19 is still with us, and I would like to encourage you to focus the budget and the planning more on smart agriculture and resilience building in preparation of the post-COVID effects.
The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Ibrahim Sisao, said the forum will enable them to make informed policy decisions and activities to improve the agriculture sector.
We are meeting here today as a sector to take stock of what we were able to do in the past year and also to plan ahead for the coming year. This is very important. It is important in the sense that if you plan, it is as if you have done half of your work. We want to also take the opportunity to evaluate and assess the work of Minister of Agriculture vis-a-vis LRR.
It is expected that issues discussed at the retreat will strengthen the sector's post-COVID-19 recovery strategies as well as the ministry's monitoring mechanisms to enhance climate-smart agriculture as well as food and nutrition security in the Gambia. Alajimbai, GRTS News.
Now elsewhere, the Conte family that hailed from Bani Badibur in the North Bank region have constructed a pediatric ward in Kerawan. The ward is named after their father, Alhaji Kemo Conte, in whose memorial a new children's ward has been inaugurated. As our North Bank region correspondent Famara Kanyi reports, the event brought together people across the region, including senior government officials. More in this report.
The inauguration ceremony of a new pediatric ward constructed by Lang Conte of the Conte family. First of its kind in the region, it was a big ceremony that brought together cabinet ministers, senior civil servants in the region, and a cross-section of the community. The new ward for children was constructed at a tune of $2 million, having all modern facilities, an office for staff, admission ward, and a playground for children. Speaking to a big audience, Usman Fati, the alcalde of Kerawan, took the crowd back through memory lane. He said the Kerawan Health Center is one of the oldest in the region. Since its establishment several years ago, a series of development initiatives have been registered, but this new ward, he added, is one of their biggest milestones. He thanked the Conte family, particularly Lang Conte, for his foresight, whilst calling on the government to support the facility with medical doctors to boost operation and capacity. Dr. Burama Jammeh, a childhood friend of Lang Conte, noted that Lang has been a visionary Gambian whose support is not only limited to the people of the North Bank region. He described him as a patriot, a non-tribal person who wants to make the North Bank a better place for all. This new ward is going to support children and women in the region and ensure their well-being. Words of Fatou Kinte, Minister of Women and Children Affairs. She reminded the gathering that health is everyone's concern and people like Lang Conte should be emulated, as she reiterated government's resolve in strengthening quality and affordable health care for all Gambians. Dr. Ahmadou Lamin Samate, Minister of Health and Social Welfare, called for unity and collective efforts to support the government of President Adama Barrow. He said the efforts of Lang Conte is one in the right direction. He added that the government will continue to support health care in the country, counting the several milestones registered over the years by the Barrow administration. He thanked Lang Conte for supporting his ministry, as he promised the people of Kerawan plans government will unveil to improve the condition and capacity of the health center. Lang Conte, the man behind the event, called on the people of the region to follow their steps in developing and complementing the efforts of government in the region. He said the pediatric ward is very significant to children in the region.
My family's overall aim is not only to complement the government of the Gambia's effort under the dynamic leadership of His Excellency Mr. Adama Barrow and his indefatigable Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadou Lamin Samate, but also set an example for other individuals, groups, or institutions from the region to follow our footsteps in this noble venture. I'm happy to report that since the inception of this project, so many new projects have started in earnest and they are progressing well. It is my hope that the benefit of this facility will be enormous and far-reaching in taking care of our children and help save lives. We implore the staff of the health facility to maintain the ward in a pristine and immaculate condition at all times. We request furthermore that adequate measures be implemented to promote the longevity of the fixtures and fittings.
Healthcare practitioners at the health center said the new ward will boost their capacity and strengthen quality healthcare delivery in the region. For the news, I am Famarakani.
And from the North Bank, we head straight to some sports news where the Gambia has been handed a tough draw in next month's CAF Under-20 football tournament. The Young Scorpions are drawn in Group C alongside Ghana, Tanzania and Morocco. Now 12 countries from the continent will take part in the African Youth Championship to be hosted by Mauritania from February 14th. The Gambia goes into the tournament as the champions of the WAFU Zone A and will open their campaign against Morocco before facing Tanzania and then a final showdown with Ghana in the group stages. The Young Scorpions are intensifying training under the guidance of coach Batad Boj ahead of the Continental Youth Tournament. While still on sports, the Gambia Armed Forces were the biggest winners in match day 2 of the First Division League of the Gambia Football Federation. The Khaki Boys were 4-2 winners over Hawks in a mouth-watering encounter at the Independence Stadium. There were also wins for Real de Banjul and Wa Banjul. Now, of course, Amour S. Jallo did bring us details of that, the Gambia's Premier Football League, and that was during the 8 p.m. news bulletin. And we head straight into the international scene, where, of course, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro says he wants to turn a new page now that Donald Trump is not in office. Trump's government has imposed multiple economic sanctions to the country, including an oil embargo since 2019. Maduro hopes for change with the Biden administration, despite his nominee for Secretary of State vowing not to support the Maduro government. The inauguration of Kamala Harris as the first woman vice president of the United States has made many Indians proud. In Shanghai, a settlement in southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu, where the new U.S. VP had her mother's origin from, the community is reacting to her achievements. Now, many scholars versed in old scriptures of that community has ascertained the height of Harris' achievement as an ancient value that will continue to make its mark on the world history. And still on the international scene, hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets of Tunis to speak out against political corruption and police violence. The demonstrations came as the country struggles with the devastating effects of COVID-19 that has crippled the economy and overwhelmed hospitals. The protest came after celebration of the 10th anniversary of the fall of Bin Ali, with over 35% of Tunisian youth under the age of 30 unemployed. Now we will take a short break. When we return, the news continues shortly. GRTS news, and before we end this, before we end this edition of the news, a recap. Now, before we end this edition of the news, a recap of our top stories once again. President Barrow received in audience the delegations of Manjaco and Nar communities at the State House in Banjul. The board and management of GRTS has today reappeared before the Public Enterprise Committee of the National Assembly to deliberate on the state broadcaster's 2019 audited activity and financial reports. The 20th session of the Truth Commission has begun with former National Intelligence Board giving his testimony on alleged excesses of the state under the previous administration. And in sports, the Gambia has been handed a tough draw in next month's CAF Under-20 football tournament, with the Young Scorpions drawn in Group C alongside Ghana, Tanzania and Morocco. And in the internationals, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said he wants to reset relations with the U.S. despite Biden's nominee for Secretary of State expressing his ill will against Maduro's government. Well, that was all in this edition of the news at 2200 hours here on GRTS from myself and the entire team. Many thanks for watching and to enjoy the rest of our interesting programs.